This video will walk you through debt investments that are classified as held to maturity by the investor. We know that there are three types of categories into which we can place the debt investments that we've invested. The first being held to maturity, the second being trading, and the third being available for sale. This video will only focus on held to maturity. And to be considered held to maturity, the investor has to have both the intent and the ability to hold that security to maturity, and we'll be working through a bond problem, and companies then have to be able to display that they have the intent and the ability to hold a bond for such a long time. So here's some key pieces of data that you've been given with this problem to work through. I've just kind of highlighted out or pulled out the pieces that are most relevant to working through the mechanical portion of the problem. So hopefully you've already tried this and these aren't new to you. So the first part I'm going to walk you through is to record the acquisition of the bond. Now this is very similar to issuing a bond and dealing with a discount or a premium. However, we're on the other side of the transaction. And so since we know that there's a stated interest rate of 8%, that's our contract rate or coupon rate, what we're going to be paying out each interest period, which is annually, is going to be 8% times the face amount of the bond, and the market rate is higher, so that tells us we're going to have a discount. So when we buy the investment, we're not going to have to pay the 100 bonds times $1,000, which would be $100,000. We're only going to have to pay 95.027%. Oh, I got this in here wrong. So in other words, we invest up front a total of $95,027 that goes into this asset account called held to maturity, and we credit cash. That's all we have to do at acquisition, is to record it at our historical cost. So acquisition is fairly simple. You do nothing with the discount. If you were on the other side of the transaction, there'd be a discount you'd have to account for. Here we're just going to amortize the difference over the life of the bond. So the first year goes by and it ends. And so the problem here tells us that, and I've got these two boxes up here, for year one we bought the bond on January 1st of 2011, but it pays interest annually, so we're not going to be receiving an interest payment until the first of the next year. However, at the end of this first year here, we're not going to have any payments come in, but we have to accrue for interest because we've earned 1 year's worth of interest. We won't get paid for it until here, so when we produce our financial statements for year one, which is 2010, I believe, 2011 actually, we have to record that much interest coming in. So I've created this amortization schedule that was on the handout, and hopefully you've been able to go through this. I'll just quickly walk you through this. The cash received is going to be the face amount of the bond, which is $100,000 times the stated rate, 8%. So we will receive an $8,000 cash payment at the beginning of the year for 3 years, because it's a 3-year bond, and that doesn't change. The effective interest method says, now look at, we're having interest revenue because we're the investor, the investee, and so we have another way to say that is we're the creditor, not the debtor. So we're going to receive interest revenue every year, and using the effective interest rate method, I have to take the rate that's given to us for the market, 10%, multiply that by the beginning carrying value. That's how I got 95.0270. The bond discount being amortized is how much is left of the original amount that needs to be amortized over the life of the bond. You can see my formula here would have been take what I started with, 49.73, and I subtract the difference between these two. So in other words, the amortization, the discount was reduced by 15.0270, which is the difference between the interest revenue and the cash received. And so I just repeated that over and over, and at the end of year 3 you can see that my carrying value equals my face value, and I have a 94-cent rounding error. So at the end of the first year, remember the idea here is to get the amount of interest that we received in year 1 into the proper year for revenue. So that, according to our schedule, is 95.0270. So my interest receivable, though, I'm only going to get $8,000 cash, because that's the terms of the bond sale, pay you $8,000 every year. The difference between the interest revenue and the cash received is going to be the amount that's going to increase in the held to maturity account. We're amortizing the discount, which in essence increases our carrying value because we're the creditor. And so the amount of interest we recognize is 95.02 70. And so this is what you would do at the end of the first year, accruing the interest. You would do this again at the end of the second year. However, your numbers would change because you're going to earn 96, 52, 97, and you just keep doing that through the life of the bond. Since it's held to maturity, it would go over and over and over until the bond matures, at which point we would receive our initial investment back. Now, the other part of this problem asks you then to record the receipt of the interest, and this is very easy. If I go back up to my boxes here, what I'm saying is at the beginning of year 2, I'm going to receive cash on January 1st, because that's what the bond says. So I'm going to be receiving interest on the 1st of each year. So when I receive that cash January 1st, I'm going to get only $8,000 because that's what the bond has agreed to pay. And so in my journal entry to record that interest payment is like that. And so that brings us through, if you're following along on your worksheet, that's through requirement number 3. Requirement number 4, I've kind of got it sketched out here. It'd be kind of hard to see. Says, now let's say that the interest rates change in the market, and so therefore there's a temporary decline in the market value of the bonds by $5,000. So prepare the necessary journal entry to reflect the decline in the market value. We've been walking through when we have equity securities that we mark to market to get it to the right value. However, I'll take you back here and show you that if we have the intent and the ability to hold to maturity, we really don't care what happens in the market. Even though it dropped by $5,000, there could be an argument saying, hey, you need to get it to the fair market value because that's following GAAP. However, if it's held to maturity, our intent is not to sell it soon. Therefore, we do not recognize the change in the fair market value. So for this part of the problem, there's no entry when the value changes. Now that'll change when we go through the trading to held to and available for sale. But if it's held to maturity, no change is recognized when the market value either increases or decreases. I'm going to go ahead and stop the video here. We're at about 7 minutes, and I'll just create another video to walk you through the sale of the bond because it takes a little while. So this brings us all the way up through requirement number 4 of the problem.